The Cross estate clung to the cliffs like a secret refusing to be told. Glass and stone stretched toward the Pacific, cold and pristine, a monument to money that had forgotten warmth. Emily Hale stood in the kitchen at dawn, her hands submerged in soapy water, watching the fog roll in through windows that cost more than her childhood home. 2 weeks. She had been invisible for 2 weeks. The rules were carved into her contract like commandments. No questions, no eye contact, no upper levels. Never speak unless spoken to. And the kitchen after midnight was forbidden territory, though no one had explained why. She scrubbed a copper pot until her reflection stared back, distorted and small. The silence pressed against her eardrums. Not peaceful silence. The kind that made you wonder if the house was breathing, waiting for something to break. Her phone buzzed. A text from her sister, Maya. "Did tuition go through?" Emily dried her hands and typed back. "Yes, you're good for the semester." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then, "You're the best. Love you." She pocketed the phone and returned to the pot, scrubbing harder. The best. She did not feel like the best. She felt like someone who had sold her voice for survival and was still waiting to see if it was worth it. Footsteps above her. Soft, deliberate. She froze, soap dripping from her fingers. Damien Cross moved like a ghost through his own house. She had never seen him up close, only glimpses. A shadow on the landing, a figure disappearing into the study. His assistant had conducted the interview, handed her the contract, shown her the quarters. Damien himself had remained a rumor, but he was always there. She felt him in the untouched meals she prepared. The classical music that drifted through the walls at 3 a.m., the way certain rooms felt heavier than others, as if grief had settled into the furniture. Emily folded a linen napkin into the shape of a bird, a small act of rebellion. She set it beside the breakfast tray, along with perfectly scrambled eggs, espresso, and a single sprig of rosemary she had added to the roasted lamb last night. She carried the tray to the dumbwaiter, loaded it, and pulled the rope. The mechanism groaned as it rose toward the second floor. She returned to the kitchen, scrubbing counters that were already clean. An hour later, the dumbwaiter descended. The plate was empty, the napkin untouched but moved, and beside the coffee cup sat a piece of paper torn from a notebook. Bold flavor, keep it. No signature, no acknowledgement, just that. Emily stared at the note until the words blurred. Her heart kicked against her ribs. She folded the paper and slipped it into her pocket, a secret she had no right to keep. The first crack in the wall. That night, she hummed while she cleaned the library. Not loud. Just enough to fill the space, to remind herself she was still real. She felt eyes on her from somewhere above, a weight she could not see. When she turned, the staircase was empty. She left an extra glass of water beside his evening scotch. In the morning, the scotch was gone. The water untouched. Still, she refilled it. Weeks passed in this strange, silent dance. Notes appeared, short, impersonal. More garlic. The study needs dusting. Thank you. The last one she kept longest. Emily told herself it meant nothing. He was just a man. She was just the help. This was a transaction. Clean his house, collect the check, keep Maya in school. Do not get attached to ghosts. But late one night, as she folded laundry in the dim light of her quarters, she heard it. Shouting. Muffled, desperate, coming from somewhere above. Then silence so sudden it felt like the house had swallowed the sound whole. She stood, heart pounding, listening. Nothing. She sat back down and pretended she had imagined it. But 3 nights later, at 1:17 a.m., she heard glass shatter. It came from the kitchen. Emily's bare feet were silent against the marble floor. The house felt different after midnight, like it had shed its polished skin to reveal something raw beneath. She moved through shadows, her breath shallow, every instinct screaming at her to turn back. The kitchen door was already open. She pushed through, and the sight froze her mid-step. Damien Cross sat on the floor, back pressed against the refrigerator, his white shirt soaked through with sweat. Blood dripped from his clenched right hand onto the tile. Shattered glass glittered around him like fallen stars. His chest heaved with each breath, and his eyes, those eyes she had been forbidden to meet, stared straight through her. Not cold. Not empty. Terrified. "Sir, Her voice cracked. "Don't." The word came out ragged. "Don't call me that." Emily did not move. Every fiber of her being told her to leave, to pretend this had never happened. She was the maid, the invisible woman. This was not her place, but his hand was bleeding. She crossed the kitchen, glass crunching under her feet, and knelt in front of him. Up close, she could see the scars on his knuckles, old and faded, the tremor in his jaw, the way he would not blink, as if closing his eyes meant surrendering to something worse than her seeing him like this. "Let me see your hand." He did not move. "Please." Slowly, painfully, he uncurled his fist. A deep gash ran across his palm, glass still embedded in the wound. She winced. "Stay here." She returned with the first aid kit from under the sink, a bowl of warm water, tweezers. She worked in silence, cleaning the wound, extracting the glass piece by piece. He did not flinch, did not make a sound, just watched her with an intensity that made her hands shake. "You were supposed to stay away," he said finally. His voice was low, rough, like he had forgotten how to use it. "I heard glass break, and you came anyway." "Yes." "Why?" Emily paused, tweezers hovering over his palm. "Because no one should bleed alone." Something shifted in his expression. Not softness, something more dangerous. Recognition. She wrapped his hand in gauze, her fingers gentle against his skin. When she finished, she sat back on her heels, waiting for him to tell her to leave. To fire her, to remind her of the rules she had shattered along with that glass. Instead, he spoke. "I don't sleep." The confession hung between them. "I haven't really slept in 3 years. Every night I wait for it to come. The panic, the memory. My body doesn't know the difference between then and now, so I come here, to the kitchen, because it's the one room that doesn't feel like a tomb." Emily's throat tightened. "What happened 3 years ago?" His laugh was bitter. "You signed an NDA. You don't get to ask questions." "Then why are you telling me?" He met her eyes fully for the first time. "Because you're the first person who's looked at me like I'm still human." The air shifted, charged. Emily should have stood, should have walked away before whatever this was became something neither of them could take back, so stayed. "I'm not supposed to be here," she whispered. "I know. You could fire me." "I could. Why don't you?" Damien's jaw clenched. "Because for 2 weeks, you've been the only thing in this house that feels alive. The bird napkins, the rosemary, the humming. You think I don't notice, but I notice everything." He leaned forward, and she could smell the whiskey on his breath, the salt of his sweat. "You broke the rules tonight, Emily." Her name. He had never said her name. "I know," she breathed. "So did I." Before she could process what he meant, he reached out with his uninjured hand and touched her face, just the back of his fingers against her cheek, so light she might have imagined it. But she felt it everywhere. In her chest, in her stomach, in the space between her heartbeat and her breath. "You should go," he said, but his hand did not move. Yes. Neither of them moved. The moment stretched, fragile and impossible. Then footsteps echoed from somewhere above, sharp, purposeful. Damien pulled back as if burned. His expression shuddered, the wall slamming back into place. "Go." Now. Emily stood, her legs unsteady. She turned toward the door, but his voice stopped her. "Emily." She looked back. "Thank you." She nodded and slipped into the darkness. Behind her, she heard him whisper, "I'm sorry." She did not know what he was apologizing for. Not yet. Everything changed and nothing changed. Emily still cleaned. Still cooked. Still left napkins folded into birds and glasses of water that went untouched. But now, when she felt eyes on her from the staircase, she looked up. And sometimes he was there. Damien Cross, no longer a ghost. Just a man with haunted eyes and bandaged hands. They did not speak about that night, but the silence between them had become something else, a language without words. She left his breakfast tray with an extra pastry. He left her notes that said more than they should. "The library smells like lemons now. I didn't know I missed that. You hum off key. Don't stop." 3 weeks after the kitchen, she found him in the library at dusk. He stood by the window staring at the ocean, his reflection ghostly in the glass. She should have left. Instead, she set down her cleaning supplies and stood beside him. It's beautiful from up here, she said quietly. It's a cage. She glanced at him. Then why stay? Because leaving means facing what I did. The words settled between them, heavy and raw. What did you do? She asked. He turned to her, and for the first time, she saw past the cold exterior to the wreckage underneath. I killed someone, Emily's breath caught. She should have run. Should have called someone. But his eyes held no malice, only agony. 3 years ago, he continued, his voice barely above a whisper. There was an accident. My wife, Kara. We were driving home from a gala. I was angry. We'd been fighting about something that doesn't even matter now. I was driving too fast. The roads were wet. I lost control. His hand gripped the windowsill, knuckles white. She died on impact. I walked away with a concussion and a scar on my shoulder. The investigation ruled it an accident. No charges, no consequences. Just her gone and me still breathing. Emily's chest ached. It was an accident, was it? His laugh was hollow. I was angry, reckless. I chose to drive that fast. I chose my pride over her safety. And now I get to live in this house we built together, surrounded by everything she touched, everything she loved, while she's in the ground. So you lock yourself away. I deserve to be locked away. That's not how grief works. He finally looked at her, really looked at her. What do you know about it? The question was not cruel, just desperate. Emily swallowed hard. My mother died when I was 11. Cancer. It took 2 years. I watched her fade until there was nothing left but bones and apologies. My father couldn't handle it. He drowned himself in pills and rage. I raised my sister in other people's houses, scrubbing other people's floors. Because survival doesn't wait for you to heal. Her voice cracked, but she did not stop. I know what it's like to carry someone else's absence in your chest. To feel like you don't deserve peace because they didn't get any. But locking yourself in a tomb doesn't honor them. It just makes 2 graves instead of 1. Silence. Then Damien reached out and took her hand. Not gently, like he was drowning and she was the only solid thing left. I don't know how to stop punishing myself. You start small. You let someone see you. You let yourself be human again. Like you did tonight? Yes. His thumb traced circles on the back of her hand, and the touch set every nerve ending on fire. This was dangerous. They both knew it. Employee and employer, grief and guilt, a collision waiting to happen. Emily. Her name was a prayer and a warning. This can't happen. I know. You should leave. Find another job. Somewhere safe. Is that what you want? He pulled her closer, and she could feel the heat of him, the desperation. No. Then tell me what you want. His forehead touched hers. I want to be the kind of man who deserves you. You don't have to deserve me. You just have to let me stay. The kiss happened like inevitability, his mouth on hers, desperate and tender and terrified. She kissed him back, pouring 3 years of loneliness into the space between their breaths. His hands tangled in her hair. Her fingers gripped his shirt. It was not gentle. It was 2 people starving for connection, finally allowing themselves to feel. When they pulled apart, his eyes were wet. I'm so tired, Emily. I know. I don't know if I can do this, be this, feel this. You don't have to know. Just don't disappear again, he nodded. And for the first time since she had arrived, she saw him breathe like his lungs remembered how. They stood there as the sun set, hands intertwined, the ocean crashing below. Neither of them saw the figure watching from the doorway. The assistant, Victoria, stepped back into the shadows, phone already in hand. Some walls were not meant to come down, and some people would do anything to keep them standing. The next morning, everything felt different, lighter. Damien met her in the kitchen before dawn, no longer hiding on the upper floors. They made coffee together in comfortable silence, shoulders brushing, small smiles exchanged like secrets. I have a meeting in the city today, he said, pouring cream into his cup. Come with me, Emily froze. What? Come with me. I want you there, not as staff. As you, her heart stuttered. Damien, people will ask questions. Let them. Your reputation, the company, you can't just... He set down his cup and took her face in his hands. I've spent 3 years hiding. From everyone. From myself. I'm done hiding from this. From you. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. Okay, she whispered. They left at noon in his Blacktown car. Damien held her hand the entire drive, thumb-tracing patterns on her wrist. They talked about small things, her sister's classes, his plans to open the east wing of the house, the way the light hit the cliffs at sunset. Normal things. Human things. When they arrived at Crossline Industries headquarters, Victoria was waiting in the lobby. Perfectly composed in her tailored suit, her expression unreadable. Mr. Cross, she said smoothly, I wasn't aware we'd have a guest today. Emily will be joining us, Damien replied, his hand still holding hers. Victoria's eyes flicked to their intertwined fingers. Something dark passed across her face, gone before Emily could name it. Of course, the board is waiting in conference room A. The meeting was brutal. Shareholders questioning Damien's recent absence, demanding explanations for delayed projects, pushing for him to step down. Emily sat in the corner, watching him navigate the attacks with practiced calm. But she saw the tension in his jaw, the way his hand trembled slightly when he reached for water. Halfway through, Victoria leaned over and whispered, You shouldn't be here. Emily met her gaze. He asked me to come. He doesn't know what he's doing. You're a distraction he can't afford. That's not your decision to make. Victoria smiled, cold and sharp. Isn't it? The meeting ended 2 hours later. Damien looked exhausted, but his hand found Emily's immediately. Let's go home. They were almost to the elevator when Victoria's voice cut through the lobby. Mr. Cross, a moment, please. Damien sighed. Wait here. I'll be right back. Emily watched them walk into a side office, the door closing behind them. She tried not to feel the unease crawling up her spine. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Emily stood and moved closer to the door. She told herself she was not eavesdropping. She was just worried. You're making a mistake. Victoria's voice sharp and clear. That's not your concern. Damien strained. Everything about you is my concern. I've kept this company running while you fell apart. I've protected your reputation, managed the board, covered for your absences. And this is how you repay me? By parading some girl around like she matters? Her name is Emily, and she does matter. She's the help, Damien. Do you understand what this looks like? What people will say? You're barely holding on as it is. I know what I'm doing. Do you? Victoria's voice dropped, dangerous. Because I know things, Damien. Things about that night. Things the investigation never found. Silence. Emily's blood went cold. What are you talking about? The night Kara died. I know you were fighting about me. The words hit like a punch. She knew, didn't she? Victoria continued. She knew about us. About what happened at the conference in Chicago. She confronted you that night, and you got angry, and you drove too fast because you were furious she'd found out. We never... Damien's voice cracked. Nothing happened in Chicago, didn't it? The hotel room. The drinks. The way you looked at me. Victoria's voice turned soft. Manipulative. You wanted it to happen. And Kara saw right through you. That's why she's dead. Because of us. Stop. I've kept this quiet for 3 years. Protected you. But if you throw me aside for some Maid, I won't stay silent. I'll tell the board. The media. Everyone. I'll make sure the world knows the real reason your wife died. Emily's hands shook. She should walk away. Should unhear what she'd just heard. But her feet stayed rooted. You're lying, Damien said, but his voice wavered. Am I? Search your memory. That night in Chicago, the bar, my room. You remember? And even if nothing happened, Kara believed it did. You let her believe it. And that's what killed her. The office door opened. Damien stood frozen, his face ashen. Victoria looked past him, her eyes locking with Emily's. A smile played at her lips. Oh, Emily, how long have you been standing there? Damien turned, and the devastation in his eyes shattered something in Emily's chest. Emily, is it true? Her voice was barely a whisper. Is that why she died? No, nothing happened. I swear to you. But you were with Victoria that night. We had drinks. That's all. She was my assistant. It was work. Did Kara think it was more? His silence was answer enough. Emily stepped back, her vision blurring. You've been punishing yourself for 3 years, but not for the accident. For the betrayal, for making your wife believe it wasn't real. I never touched her. But you wanted to, Victoria interjected, her voice poison. Didn't you, Damien? Even if just for a moment. Shut up, he snarled. But the damage was done. Emily looked at the man she'd started to care for, the man she'd thought she understood, and she saw only a stranger. I need to go. Emily, please. She turned and walked toward the elevator, her heart breaking with every step. Emily. Damien's voice echoed through the lobby. The elevator doors closed. She rode down alone, Victoria's words circling in her head like vultures. When she reached the ground floor, she pulled out her phone and texted her sister. I'm coming home. Tonight. But when she looked up, Damien was there, having taken the stairs, breathless and desperate. Don't leave. Please. Let me explain. Explain what? That your wife died thinking you were unfaithful? That I'm just another mistake you're making to feel less guilty? You're not a mistake. Then what am I, Damien? Your redemption? Your second chance? I'm not a replacement for what you lost. I know that, do you? Tears streamed down her face. Because I was starting to believe this was real, that we could be real. But you're still in love with a ghost, and I'm just the living thing you're using to feel less dead. That's not fair. Maybe not, but it's true. She pushed past him, out into the city streets, and did not look back. Behind her, Damien stood in the lobby, Victoria watching from the window above, her smile victorious. Some betrayals did not need to be real to destroy everything. Emily did not go home. She sat in a coffee shop 3 blocks from Crossline Industries, staring at her phone, unable to text her sister back. Unable to book a bus ticket, unable to do anything but replay Victoria's words over and over. The truth, she realized, was not the point. The doubt was. 2 hours passed. Her coffee went cold. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost did not answer. Hello? Emily. Not Damien. A woman's voice, older, unfamiliar. My name is Claire Mendez. I was Kara Cross's best friend. We need to talk. Emily's heart stopped. How did you get this number? I've been watching Damien for 3 years, making sure he doesn't destroy himself completely. I saw you with him today, and I saw Victoria corner you. She's lying, Emily, about everything. How do you know? Because I was there that night. In Chicago, Kara called me, crying, saying Damien was having an affair. I flew out immediately. We confronted him together, and he broke down, told us nothing had happened, that Victoria had gotten drunk, made a pass at him, and he'd turned her down. Sent her back to her room. Kara believed him. We laughed about it later, called Victoria pathetic. Emily's grip on the phone tightened. Then why did Victoria say? Because she's been in love with Damien for years, obsessively. She thought if Kara was gone, she'd have a chance. But Damien never saw her that way. Not then, not now. The night of the accident, they were fighting, yes, but not about Victoria. About Damien's company expanding overseas. Kara wanted him home more. He was being stubborn. That's what they were fighting about when he crashed. Tears burned Emily's eyes. Why are you telling me this? Because I've watched Damien bury himself alive for 3 years. And yesterday, for the first time, I saw him at the cemetery. He was putting flowers on Kara's grave. And he was smiling. Crying but smiling. Talking to her like she was still there. Telling her about you. About how you made him remember what it felt like to be alive. Emily could not breathe. Kara would have wanted that for him, Claire continued. She would have wanted him to heal. To love again. Don't let Victoria take that from him. From both of you. The call ended. Emily sat in the silence, her mind racing. Then she stood, left money on the table, and started walking. She arrived at the Cross estate as the sun was setting. The door was unlocked. She found Damien in the library, sitting on the floor, surrounded by photographs. Pictures of Kara, of their wedding, of a life that had been stolen too soon. He looked up when she entered, his eyes red and swollen. You came back. I talked to Claire. His expression crumbled. She called you. Why didn't you tell me the truth about Chicago? Because I was ashamed. Not of what I did, but of what I almost wanted. For 1 second, when Victoria kissed me, I hesitated. Just a second. And that second has haunted me ever since. Even though I pushed her away. Even though I told Kara everything. That moment of weakness made me feel like I'd betrayed her. Emily knelt beside him, taking his face in her hands. You're human, Damien. Temptation isn't betrayal. Action is. And you chose your wife. Every time. But she still died because of me. No. She died because of an accident. A terrible, unfair accident. You made a mistake driving too fast. But you didn't kill her. Grief did. Yours and hers and the cruelty of timing. How do I forgive myself? The same way I forgave myself for not saving my mother. For not fixing my father. For not being enough. Her voice broke. You let yourself be loved anyway. Damien pulled her close, and they sat there among the photographs. 2 people shaped by loss. Learning how to be whole again. Victoria needs to go, he said finally. I should have fired her years ago. She's dangerous. I know, but I was too broken to see it. Emily pulled back, meeting his eyes. There's something I need to tell you. His expression shifted. What? I got an offer. A job in Seattle. Better pay. Closer to my sister. She took a breath. I turned it down. Because I wanted to stay here. With you. But that was before today. Before I realized how complicated this is. Are you leaving? I don't know. I need you to tell me why I should stay. And not because you're lonely. Not because you need someone to clean your house and make you feel less guilty. I need to know if this is real. Damien stood, pulling her to her feet. 3 years ago, I stopped believing in second chances. I built this house into a prison and threw away the key. Then you showed up with your folded napkins and your off-key humming and your refusal to let me disappear. You didn't fix me, Emily. You reminded me I was still alive, still capable of feeling, still deserving of something other than punishment. He took her hands. I love you. Not because you're convenient, not because you're here, but because you see the worst parts of me and you stay anyway. Because you challenge me. Because when I'm with you, I'm not the man who killed his wife. I'm just a man trying to be better. Emily's tears fell freely now. I love you too, but I'm terrified. So am I. What if this is a mistake? Then we'll make it together. She kissed him, soft and certain, a promise in the shape of breath and touch. When they pulled apart, he pressed his forehead to hers. Stay, he whispered. Not as my employee, as my equal, as my partner. Stay and help me turn this tomb into a home again. Emily smiled through her tears. Okay. Yes, but we're redecorating. This place needs color. Damien laughed, and the sound was the most beautiful thing she had ever heard. They spent the evening boxing up photographs, not to forget, but to make room for new memories. They opened the windows, letting the ocean air sweep through the house. They made dinner together, clumsy and laughing, burning the pasta but not caring. And when midnight came, they sat in the kitchen, no longer forbidden territory, just a room where 2 people had found each other in the wreckage. What happens now? Emily asked. Damien laced his fingers through hers. We live. Messy and imperfect and real. No more hiding? No more hiding. Victoria was gone by morning, escorted out by security with a severance package and a non-disclosure agreement that would ensure her silence. Claire visited that afternoon, hugging Emily like they were old friends, telling stories about Kara that made Damien smile instead of flinch. Slowly, the house began to breathe again. Months passed. Emily's sister visited for Thanksgiving, shocked to find her sister not scrubbing floors, but sitting at the table, Damien's hand in hers. The East Wing opened. They hosted small gatherings. Damien returned to work, not as the ghost CEO, but as a man rebuilding. And late at night, when the panic came, Emily was there. Not to fix him, just to remind him he was not alone. 1 year after that first night in the kitchen, Damien took Emily to the cliffs. The sun was setting, painting the Pacific in shades of gold and crimson. I went to see Kara, he said quietly. Told her about you, about us. I think she would have liked you. Emily leaned into him. I think so too. I'm not the man I was. I don't know if I ever will be. Good. I like this version better. He turned to her, pulling a small box from his pocket. I'm not asking you to replace what I lost. I'm asking you to build something new. With me. Messy and imperfect and real. Inside the box was a simple silver ring. Emily's breath caught. Damien, marry me. Not because I need saving, but because I choose you, every day, for the rest of my life. She kissed him, tasting salt and hope, and the future they would write together. Yes. They stood on the cliffs as the sun disappeared below the horizon. Two people who had learned that healing was not about forgetting the past. It was about letting yourself live beyond it. The house behind them was no longer a tomb. It was home. The end.